What is up, freaks? It's your boy Marty here to introduce this rip of Rabbit Hole recap. Matt and I just ripped it. And guess what? I just did a whole 8-minute ad read. You freaks are going to be happy to know I'm going to shorten this one, but I had the wrong mic. And I was just down in Austin, exploring Austin. Got my beautiful wife next to me making some chicken noodle soup. Liking Austin so far. Vibes hot. The vibe is hot down here. That's how I'd describe it. We're missing Matt Odell down here. I wish you were down here for the events of this week. Got Unchained Capital's BitDevs meet up at Unchained Capital tonight. Beefsteak tomorrow. Many events, many Bitcoiners. It feels like the Bitcoin meat space shelling point is shifting down to the southwest. Very interesting to see. Very interesting rip. Good rip this week. It was brought to you by good friends at the motherfucking Cash App. They help you stack sats, send sats, receive sats, sell sats. If you so please, we're saying sats, because sats are the standard. There's 100 million sats in each Bitcoin. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can stack whole sats instead. I forgot to say the amount of sats per cuck buck during the read on Clark Moody's dashboard during the episode, so I'm going to do that now. One cuck buck is going to get you 1,573 sats, according to Clark's dashboard right now. And you can stack those sats. You can stack 1,573 sats with one cuck buck on the Cash App. They make that possible. You can DCA in the sat set and forget it by daily, weekly, bi-weekly. And we actually had a conversation about bi-weekly. Matt, if you're listening to this, the ad read proves that I was right about bi-weekly, and it's not that confusing. What else can you do? Cash App can be your bank account. You're offering account numbers and routing numbers to get your paychecks direct deposited into the app. They sometimes have Sats Back Boost. You use your Boost card wherever Visa is accepted, and if you have your Sats Back Boost enabled, you're going to get Sats Back. They also have other boosts with other retailers. Great. Sometimes you just save money at the grocery store. Go check out all of this if you haven't already. Download the Cash App. Use the code STACKINGSATS. That's STACKINGSATS. You're going to get $10, and $10 are going to go to our good friends at Owls Lacrosse. That's Owls Lacrosse. And the Great American Mining Eagle has landed in Austin, so I got to give you an eagle call. Freedom. We're going to be talking freedom tonight at the Unchained Capital offices. This episode is also brought to you by good friends at Unchained Capital. They're doing incredible things, building products for Bitcoiners, leveraging Bitcoin's native properties with security in mind, and nothing makes that more obvious than their Vault program and their white glove concierge service, which is what we're shilling today. All right. If you freaks want to go from zero to having 1,000 cuck bucks worth of Bitcoin in a multi-sig address and a vault, an Unchained Capital vault specifically, Unchained team is here for you with their white glove concierge service. You sign up for it and you get the package. What you get is multiple video conference calls where they get you comfortable with multi-sig, get you comfortable with their Vault product, make sure that you understand the security it provides and how it works and what you need to protect. They're going to send you cards. They're not sending you cards. They're sending you hardware wallets. They'll send you hardware wallets to teach you how to set those up, how to create a private public key pair, how to protect your derivation pass or secure your derivation pass or remember your, save your derivation pass so you can use them. This is why they're doing it, not me. They're going to set that up, get you comfortable with everything, and then once you're comfortable with multi-sig, comfortable with your hardware wallets, you're going to set up a vault. They're going to dump $1,000, 1,000 cuck bucks worth of Bitcoin into it. You're going to hold two keys. Unchained will hold one. If you ever want to move your UTXOs out of that multi-sig vault, you can do so by yourself. But if you ever need Unchained to be that second in the 2 or 3 signatures, they are there for you as well. So go check all this out. Tell them TFTC sent you. You're going to get $50 off. Go to www.unchained-capital.com. That's www.unchained-capital.com. Incredible content there, too. Beyond their products, they're writing incredible content. This rip was also brought to you by good friends at HODL HODL, another company leveraging Bitcoin's multi-sig properties to bring good products to the world. This product is available to U.S. citizens, too. It's lend at HODL HODL. So you go to lend.hodlhodl.com. You'll be able to use your Bitcoin as collateral to get liquidity. If you don't want to sell your Bitcoin, if you need a little bit of liquidity, you put your Bitcoin in a multi-sig escrow, non-custodial multi-sig escrow. It's anonymous, non-custodial. You basically meet on the HODL HODL lending platform. You find a counterparty who's willing to lend out stable coins. You put your Bitcoin into a multi-sig address. You hold one key, HODL HODL holds one, and your counterparty holds one, so you know your Bitcoin's never being rehypothecated. You can be sure that your collateral is where it should be in the multi-sig wallet. And then you get stable coins, and you're able to spend those without getting a tax burden of selling your Bitcoin. And as long as you're paying that back, you're going to get your Bitcoin back. It's a beautiful thing. And if you're a stablecoin guy or girl, and you have some stablecoins laying around that you want to get interest on, you can go on the other side of that order book, put your stablecoins up to be lent out, and engage with Bitcoiners looking to hold their Bitcoin. And you lend your stablecoins out, and you get a return on it for doing so. So go check it all out at lend.hodlhodl.com. That's lend.hodlhodl.com. Last but not least, this rip was brought to you by our good friends at Brains. 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 Brains is the team behind Slushpool. Slushpool is the oldest Bitcoin mining pool in existence. They've been around since 2013, and they've always been great stewards of the Bitcoin network and Bitcoiners in general. Nothing makes this more obvious than the fact that they discovered Amplead and created firmware that Bitcoin miners could use instead of Bitmain's firmware that was exposing miners to that Amplead vulnerability. And what they did was basically create Brains OS Plus, which is firmware, which you download on your miner, and you're able to get more sats for your hash. Get more sats for your hash with Brains OS Plus. You download it, makes you more efficient, gives you more control of your miners, and allows you to stack more sats. On top of that, you're doing incredible things in the open source arena with Stratum v2. They're working on a decentralized mining protocol. It's available on Slushpool, and it's implemented on Slushpool and available to individuals running Brains OS Plus firmware on their miners. That's available for S9s, S17s, and T17s right now. They're working on What's Miner. When What's Miner, Ed. I'm going to pour queso on your head the next time I see you, Ed. When What's Miner. On top of that, they've got incredible tools. They have a mining profitability tool. They're putting out a lot of educational content for miners and about the mining industry. Just a great team all around. Love the team at Brains. They're fucking crushing it. They have been crushing it for some time. They always have Bitcoin in mind, Bitcoiners in mind. They're great stewards of the protocol, of the network, of the mining industry. Very proud to have them as a sponsor. So go check them out at Brains, BRAINS.com. Enjoy this, Rip Freaks. Love all y'all. Maybe moving to Texas. We'll see.
You've had a dynamic where money's become freer than free.
If you talk about a Fed just gone nuts, all the central banks going nuts.
So it's all acting like safe haven.
I believe that in a world where central bankers are tripping over themselves to devalue their currency, Bitcoin wins. In the world of fiat currencies, Bitcoin is the victor.
I mean, that's part of the bull case for Bitcoin.
If you're not paying attention, you probably should be.
So, what's up? I'm on video for the first time in a while. Using my laptop as I am in Austin and don't have my desktop with me. And it seems that it's much better than my desktop setup. And the going live flow from Zoom to all the third parties that we're currently streaming on is completely different on my laptop than it is on my desktop. So we just ninja launched it. I thought I was going to have a few seconds there. Little under prepared right now. Matt, how the hell are you? Ooh, that was a good pop.
Boomer Marty coming live from Austin. Doesn't even know he's coming live. I wonder at what point they came in there. Anyway, freaks, you got that inside baseball. Welcome.
Got inside baseball. You got my brother. He's taking an Instagram story video of me right now, and my wife and son are on the couch beyond us. So if you hear any the rumblings in the background, sorry for that, freaks. But hey, what a week! Short list. I was surprised how short the list is this week.
Yeah, it was a quiet news week. I mean, you wouldn't know that from mainstream media, but for proper Bitcoiners, it was a quiet news week.
Yeah, well, I mean, quiet news week that ended with a bang yesterday, or not like ended, but we got a pretty big bang yesterday. Looks like you're going to be sending 1 million sats to the Human Rights Foundation.
Stay humble, Marty.
I mean, it's hard to be humble when you start.
Hard to be humble. This isn't Ethereum. This isn't Ethereum. You don't just see a merged PR and then all of a sudden the thing's activated.
What's the latest with that? I had to hop on like a virtual conference for an hour and wasn't able to follow along.
Speedy Trial has been merged into Bitcoin Core.
I know about that. I'm talking about the Ethereum kerfuffle.
Oh, I don't know. You were following that more than me. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, apparently they had a big hard fork today, and we'll get into it. Let's start before we get to Speedy Trial. Before we get to that shit, let's start with Clark's dashboard. As you can see on Crypto Watch, there is a bit of a premium on BISC trading at $65,110. It was above $70,000 right before we hit record. The price, according to Clark Moody's dashboard, is $62,570. Total Bitcoin market cap is $1,170 billion as of right now. We are 3.5% below the all-time high. We hit 64,840 this week at one point. We're currently at block 679,373, getting closer to 89% of all the Bitcoin that will ever be mined have been mined. We're at 88.97%. That's 18,683,492.21 BTC. Got my laptop set up different screen sizes. So scrolling through here, mining, we had an upward difficulty adjustment of 5.8%. And we talked about that last week. We're 19 blocks away from the next free target. So that should happen in 193 hours, 3 hours and 10 minutes about. And that's estimated to be a 1.6% upward difficulty adjustment. That's because blocks are coming in at 9 minutes and 51 seconds, 9 seconds quicker than the 10-minute block target. And unspent capacity, wow, on Samurai went up big. We're at 2,358.51 or $147.5 million. That's pretty significant.
I wonder if it's the guns and Bitcoin effect.
You think so? I was talking to Ben about that. He said it was a really good conference. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that just happened in Austin last week. I heard it was a massive success and a lot of fun. And Samurai played a very big role there. So,
yeah, I actually I got one of the Pine 64 nodes, like Woe, and our boy Zelko hooked me up. So I've got that waiting for me back at home to plug in and set up. It's a beautiful thing. They 3D printed a case. It's a really high quality node. They were giving those out at Guns and Bitcoin as well.
Those look pretty slick.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's going on? What's on your mind? We just went through the dashboard. We got a lot of stuff going on. You said it's a slow news week. I think it was a pretty big news week.
Well, I mean, the biggest story, if you asked a normie, I almost didn't even put on the list, and then I looked back afterwards and then added it to the list. So I don't count that. If you don't count that, then like we have Speedy Trial, we have the Taproot activation, right? But besides that, pretty slow news week.
Yeah.
What am I talking about, Marty?
The Coinbase IPO.
Yes, sir.
Very hot topic. A lot of people got pretty rich off of that. What's it trading at now? I haven't even checked today.
It's at about 68 billion market cap.
Okay.
I think it was like 330 or something per share. My favorite take was from Dylan over at Bitcoin Magazine. He had he priced it in sats, and he was like, "Number go down." And I think that's the proper framing. Like it might perform well in the short term, but long term is going to trend to zero like everything else measured in Bitcoin. But I would say that, a $68 billion valuation in this type of insane, stonk market seems kind of low to me, right? People were expecting a lot higher.
People were expecting like 95 billion.
I was expecting like over 150.
Yeah.
And I had no math to back it up except just pure insanity. I just expected the most insane thing possible.
Yeah.
Which is usually a good bet recently. You just bet on insanity.
Well, the world is going insane outside of Bitcoin. You want to start? They're trying to stuff the courts now. What do you think about 4 more Supreme Court justices getting added to the Supreme Court?
Dude, this is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah. They're pushing for it.
I isolate myself into my Bitcoin bubble.
It's a good way to do it. Oh, buddy, it's okay. So let's just jump right into speedy trial. We talked about it yesterday with Ben on the pod that will be released tomorrow. I sat down with Ben and Chris Stewart from SureBits. We talked about speedy trial and the debate around the activation method, particularly block height versus MTP and the coin flip and the controversy around that. And after that conversation, I'm okay with the coin flip. 100% okay with the coin flip. I know we determined
We're past the coin flip now, Marty.
I know, but there was like a lot of bike shedding around it, and but it seems like we're beyond that. The activation method has been merged into core, and will start, I believe, in 2 weeks, around April 24th. Correct?
Yeah. And then there's going to be a 3-month signaling period where miners can signal. What's the threshold? Is it 95%?
It's 90 or 95. I'm pretty sure.
Just heard a slight echo.
Oh, you did?
I heard it again.
Is this better?
What percentage do you think it is?
I thought it was 90.
Okay, well, it's 90 or 95%. And if the miners don't reach that threshold after 3 months, then UASF is on the table. Then there might have to be a user activated soft fork, or at least a threat of one.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, that wouldn't be necessary if the miners signal to the proper threshold, which is above 90%.
It's confirmed 90% is the threshold. On the Taproot activation Linux page right now, or in the mailing list.
That's good, because 95% is like a pretty fucking insane bar to hit.
Yeah. Talking with Ben yesterday, he made a very good point. Like outside of SegWit, every other soft fork with this type of threshold was merged within 3 months, pretty easily. He may have even said 3 weeks, but I'm gonna err on the side of 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of this as a rubric going forward for these kind of proposals, right? Where you have you basically have the devs do, the dev community do a like due diligence period. They work on it and everything. It gets merged. You give the miners the ability to signal, and then if there's opposition there at that point, after all of that, then you can continue to more deep debate or conversation and where to go from there, right?
Yeah. And it's funny what the debate around this particular last leg of the activation method being determined was about. It was very, very niche edge cases. So the way Ben described it to me is the MTP versus block height debate was about the edge case of miners being able to, a miner with MTP being able to reorg and sort of change the times on the blocks, and confuse the network about whether or not Taproot was actually activated. And during that period, if somebody were to use a Taproot address, they would lose those funds, which, again, edge case, niche case, like the probability of somebody actually using that right away, Taproot address and going right into it is probably low. It's going to take time for wallets to adapt the code and integrate it into their software. So it would have to be like a core dev who just couldn't wait to experiment with it. And that's like the probability of that happening. And the debate around that was just very intellectual, like masturbation, if you will.
I mean, that is like more of a niche. I'm hearing slight echoes still. That was more of a niche thing or detail aspect to it. But there's a bigger overarching debate, right? Which Luke is still upset with, Luke Jr. Is this idea of do you just go straight to user activated soft fork, or do you give the miners a period of signaling before you do that, right? And it seems like there's still a decent chunk of people that would prefer to just go straight to user activated.
Yeah. And then like so the argument there is the threat of a chain split. If you go straight to user activated soft fork, this is more of a clean way and organized way to do it.
Yeah, I mean the speedy trial approach is a more conservative method, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically the decision between, do you use user activated soft fork as a threat, as a last case scenario type of move, or do you use it proactively? In both cases, like even the overwhelming majority of people that support speedy trial are doing so under the assumption that if it fails to activate from minor signaling, then a user activated soft fork is in the cards. So like almost everyone agrees with that aspect. It's just, when do you do it? Do you do it before the miners do it, or do you do it after? And the nice thing about having the miners go along with it is it's a very easy thing to measure them signaling. It's an objective measurement. I mean, they could fake signaling, but at least we can objectively see signaling. You can't objectively see node numbers or anything like that. That's why proof of work exists in the first place. And it's just, in a lot of ways, it's easier if it's not contentious.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Like that seems like that's how the SegWit user activated software worked, right? Like the miners didn't signal and they were fucking around. So it's like, all right, we're going to use activated software.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some nuance there, but more or less, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm happy. I'm happy because I think Steve Lee, Moneyball, Steve from Square Crypto, he tweeted out yesterday, like, if this activation method goes smoothly and it happens within the 3-month period, we'll have Taproot by November 21st, which means
they're cutting it tight.
I would keep my million sats. Is our bet pushing Taproot forward? I know we've talked about this in the past, I think.
I know, freaks, it's important to stay humble, but I 100% agree with Marty that rabbit hole recap is single-handedly pushing Taproot through.
All the core devs listen. They know. They had this prediction market in the form of this bet of 1 million sats going to the HRF.
Marty's really paying off all the powers that be with his 1 million sats on his side just to win out of pride.
Yeah. Well, no, that's risky because then I have to pay like 2 million sats if I lose. And they get the, yeah. Well, we'll keep following this. It seems like there's quality, legitimate momentum towards getting this activated, which we've been talking about for a while. There's been a stalemate, if you will, but the stalemate's been moving forward. It's been debated thoroughly. Like we've been saying time and time again, this is a good thing to see. Bitcoin is extremely hard to change. And I guess after we talk about Greg Maxwell's comment on Reddit, we can get into juxtaposing how hard it is and has been to get Taproot activated versus the Berlin hard fork of Ethereum today, which created a huge disruption to the network.
And also for the freaks, like we're going to have, I guess probably the next 2 episodes on this feed are going to be Taproot focused. And I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more discussion about it in general going forward. So there won't be a dearth of discussion on it.
Yeah. So what did you think of Greg Maxwell's comments?
There's a fucking hilarious quote in the middle there. Let me see if I can pull it up over here because I'm sharing my screen. There's a fucking quote. No one brought it up at all. I'm pulling it up right now. Sorry, freaks.
I'm looking for it. I have it up right now.
But do you know which quote I'm talking about?
I'm trying to think.
Okay, it's, in any case, a bit frustrating, but I think ultimately not a big deal. Someone always got to climb the Reichstag dressed as Spider-Man, and I guess this time it's Luke's turn.
Yeah, and this is basically in the context of Luke being very staunch, not holdout, but he's being he's playing one end of the spectrum and holding the line there. I don't want to say he's dying on a hill, but he's standing strong on a very semantic hill, if you will.
Well, Luke primarily wants to do BitBait. He wants to do user activated soft fork.
Yeah.
That's his primary misgiving, and it seems like he's just pushing back on little details here. That's Greg's main complaint. He thinks that there's pretty much consensus, and that just arguing over the little details aren't really benefiting anyone. The freak should go read his actual post from Greg Maxwell. But Marty, like, what is that reference? I'm not getting the reference. It seems like a real personal jab that he put there. Like the Reichstag is the government building, right? That the Nazis burned down.
Yeah.
What does Spider-Man have to do with it?
He's just trying to seem, I don't know.
It was like one of those quotes I read. I was like, oh shit, burn. And then I was like, I have no idea what this means.
I mean, he's like trying to be a hero, but he's really not. Someone dressed as Spider-Man, so it's not actually Spider-Man.
Fake Spider-Man screaming fire or something.
Yeah, not screaming fire. Again, I'm just trying to not articulate, but translate what this may mean. It's like somebody just being a hardo.
I mean, he wrote like
thinking they're going to save the world when it's obvious they're not. It's like the beginning of the Dark Knight Rises, or the Dark Knight, where you have all the fake Batmen like with guns, and they're really not solving anything.
I mean, Greg wrote this like nice, insightful Reddit post, like 6 paragraphs or whatever. And I just can't get over this one sentence in the middle that's just completely unrelated to the rest of it in terms of like, I don't know.
Yeah, I find it interesting that Greg Maxwell still hangs out on Reddit. I mean,
he loves Reddit. It's like his favorite platform.
Yeah, and he's described why he's not on Twitter. He does not like the
fair enough,
the brevity of tweets. Doesn't think it's a good spot for quality conversation, which I think there's a good argument to be made there and understand it. But yeah, no, it was interesting to see his thoughts. It's moving forward, freaks. April 12th.
I still think he's on Twitter. We just don't know what his name is.
No. You do? No, I don't think he'd be able to control himself. You'd be able to like tell.
We'll never know.
Based on his language. What else do we got here?
I guess we would know if he signed a message on Twitter, but that's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good week. I mean, again, it's very hard to get these things merged into Bitcoin. It takes a lot of time. And again, we're going to juxtapose this with the Berlin hard fork, which, again, is pretty incredible to see how that played out. So basically, Ethereum had a hard fork upgrade today, and it split the network a lot between Geth and Open Node, or not Open Node, Free Node, or
it's Open Ethereum something.
Yeah, Open Ethereum something, whatever. So I guess Geth clients continued unabated, and Open Ethereum node, whatever it's called, those clients got stuck at a certain block height. And it turns out that a lot of the major exchanges and service providers within the Ethereum ecosystem were using that.
No, I don't think they were.
No?
I mean, Etherscan was, which is arguably one of the largest.
You had Bitstamp, right? Coinbase, Gemini.
No, I think a lot of the exchanges, I think what happened was a lot of the exchanges just froze things as an abundance of caution. They saw things were up and they didn't know, which way consensus might go. Because when you have a chain split, you have 2 possibilities, right? I don't know if there was actually a chain split here. I think they just crashed. Yeah, but either way, my understanding is the exchanges stopped because of an abundance of caution. If you're doing Ethereum on an exchange, I assume they're running multiple clients because there's all these different clients. But this is the shitcoin liability you have when you're covering these things as exchanges. I don't. Yeah, and
I think another important thing to highlight here too is like the difference between soft forks and hard forks. Like they're literally forcing all the important companies and users that want to use a full node to upgrade so that they can merge the code that they want to merge. And it just shows that it creates the possibility for a large disruption like we've seen today. I don't even know if everything's been fixed and things are back to normal.
But it kind of shows I think the real big takeaway is that it shows that this idea of having like multiple clients being used, being more censorship resistant and more robust than having like a single reference client, which is a common criticism we get a lot in Bitcoin land is that you have this reference client, Bitcoin Core, that is used by the overwhelming majority of nodes, especially economic nodes in the Bitcoin network. And Ethereum people and shitcoiners in general often use that as an argument against saying it's not decentralized and there should be multiple clients. But in this case, Geth is basically the reference client of Ethereum. And well, what kind of robustness or censorship resistance does adding open Ethereum or whatever on as a client into the network do if it crashes and you don't count it as part of Ethereum anyway, right? You're going with the reference client to begin with. So it's just like, it's lipstick on a pig, this idea that these extra clients, these other clients actually give you any kind of additional censorship resistance or robustness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because like if you're running Geth, you just had no idea. I mean, you're fine.
Yeah. Then I think, well, I'm trying to steelman this.
This is too much ETH talk.
Do you like knots? Do you like Libitcoin? You think they're important?
I think that if there's a chain split and Bitcoin Core goes one way and one of those smaller ones goes another way, the chain that's going to have consensus after the fork is going to be the Bitcoin Cores. And whether you like it or not, that's going to be the case. Like fucking 90% of the economy runs on it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just the reality of the situation.
Again, keep steel manning this. So how is Bitcoin still decentralized with that taking into consideration?
Well, because no one can force us to update our clients. They've merged Taproot into Bitcoin Core. They haven't packaged the actual binary, the install file yet, but people like Ben, the Carmen have already built from source and are running it, right? But presumably all actors in the network have the ability to not update their software, right? We don't have to run it if we don't want to.
Yeah, and then you're making the point that I originally made, right? Like that is the beauty of Bitcoin. It's opt-in,
right? But you have that
compatible.
Yeah.
Like
that's not necessarily unique to Bitcoin, but this idea that multiple clients provide substantial censorship resistance is kind of bullshit.
Well, isn't it unique to Bitcoin in a sense? That's the priority and the preferred way.
I would say that most shit coins have at least adopted the rule of no auto updates. Some will, most 99% have centralized actors that basically peer pressure everyone or economic pressure everyone into updating, right? But at least we don't see many that have auto updates. There's some shit of the shit that have auto updates, right? But like the 15 people that are running Ethereum nodes are going to manually update their nodes.
Yeah, but isn't this hard fork like a forced upgrade?
I don't know, Marty. I'm not really following it that well.
Neither am I.
I was planning on talking about it on Rabbit Hole Recap.
Well,
I'm in my own little Bitcoin bubble.
Well, considering again the activation of Taproot and the way that's happened, I think this was a great
dichotomy.
Exactly.
How's Austin, Marty? I'm jealous that you're down there and I'm not.
Vibes are high. Vibes are real high. The Bitcoin scene down here, it's what New York used to be.
They're winning.
They are winning. Yeah, I mean, I've seen. Last night I had dinner with 3 New York Bitcoiners. That 2 of which are down here now permanently. One who's thinking about coming down here permanently. It was great catching up with that. It was funny. I was like, we've met before in person up in New York and just did it now down in Austin. It seems like the shelling point of Bitcoin mindshare in meat space is meeting here in Austin. I got lunch with Ryan Gentry the other day. Had some tacos with him, talking lightning. He was explaining the scene. I met up with Gladstein. Got a drink with him. He was in town. He went on Lex Friedman's podcast. We talked about that. Somebody drew a picture of us. I'm sure some of you freaks have seen. It was a very good picture. Very flattering for me. Not so much for Alex, but I guess Alex and I are now.
Was it like a street artist?
Yeah. We were just having drinks in the back of a bar, and somebody walked up to us. Was like, "Hey, I drew a picture of you." I was like, "Oh, thank you."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess there's like almost maybe over 200 people are going to be at BitDevs today.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if we can all fit in Unchained Capital's offices. There's some skepticism about what's going to happen there. People are going to have to get on people's shoulders, or there's just going to be overflow outside, and not everybody's going to be able to participate. But regardless, it's going to be a good time. Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the New York Bitcoiners are in town, flew down for this.
I'm aware. I got reprimanded by multiple people for not joining.
I mean, I've reprimanded. I've been telling you to book a flight to this for months now. You can't make it though. You can't make it.
What are you gonna do?
There's always next month, right? It is a good vibe down here. I like the weather. Yeah, we decided to come down here, check things out, maybe move down here, just getting a lay of the land. But it's good for us. We're coming down here 12th to the 25th, and hopefully when we get back to New Jersey, the weather will be like manageable. It's like that weird weather time in the Northeast, as you know, where like it's rain, then it's hot, then it's cold, it's windy. Just trying to avoid that as much as possible. Hopefully we get back and it's like low 70s in a perpetuity.
Are you referring to the spring, Marty?
Yes, well, Northeast spring.
I fucking love Northeast spring. I'm fucking popping right now.
I don't like the
It gets me bullish as fuck.
the volatility of the temperature. And just, like I'm an allergy guy. It messes with me, messes with my throat. I prefer summer. I'm a summer guy, beach guy. What's the weather like today? Is it raining?
Huge Northeast spring maxi. So we can agree to disagree on that one.
What's the weather like today?
Oh, it's horrible and rainy. But yesterday was very bullish.
Oh yeah. Was it hot?
Yeah, it was like a nice hot sunny day. And like when you're in the city, like the skirts come out and everyone's on the street. And now at least like one good thing, I guess, like one of the only good things we have going for us now is like open container laws are fine. Like they just disregard the open containers.
Yeah, that's
yeah, I just like this weather. It just always puts me in a good mood after the darkness of the winter.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love the sundress season days where they all come out. But again, the volatility. You can have a sundress season day, and then at 5 o'clock the weather turns, and everybody's like wearing shorts and a t-shirt. It gets like way too cold, and everybody's like,
Lower your time preference.
What do you mean?
There's volatility. There's volatility, but the weather trends up in the spring.
Yeah, it does. It is upward trending. It is up into the right trajectory with the volatility. Yeah. Speaking of which, we broke out of the consolidation phase. It feels like we've been hovering in the low 60s for many days now, which feels good.
We were above 70 on BISC, but I guess we didn't get the live launch in time.
I tried to. I ninja launched on myself. I tried my best.
Yeah, I mean, I think look, I have been feeling immense FOMO. Like Capsodel is in full effect right now. I feel bullish as fuck. Take that as you will.
No, I do as well. It's hard not to be bullish right now. It seems again. Let's jump to the CIA comments. What did you think of those? Do you even have those on the list?
The CCI comments?
No, the CIA director
wrote it. He wrote it for the CCI.
Oh, he did. Okay.
The Crypto Council for Innovation.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
So the Crypto Council for Innovation is what we talked about last week. It was formed last week. And what is it? It's Square, Fidelity, Coinbase, Paradigm.
Yes.
And Paradigm's leading their chain analysis. Coinbase has their own chain analysis competitor. A lot of Bitcoiners are rightfully skeptical. A lot of people who love engagement more than they love Bitcoin, post extremely bullish things about it without being skeptical because you get more engagement that way. And really, like everything else in life, it should be somewhere in the middle, right? You should be healthily skeptical, but at the same time hope that, the loose incentives are aligned enough that these big companies will help us more than they hurt us, right? But always keep them honest, always have, always be ready to stand the fuck up, right? So the main purpose, it appears, they told us the main purpose of CCI is to lobby government, right, for favorable quote unquote crypto regulation. And the first thing they did was we got this report from the ex-CIA director, right? Michael Mosier, I think is his name. And basically the premise of the report, he leaned a lot on chain analysis data, which is one of the investment companies of a CCI member, to say that there's not much illicit activity happening on Bitcoin and that Bitcoin is overwhelmingly a force for good, and the U.S. government should treat it as such, which I think is a lot of Bitcoiners took away as a rightfully positive message, right? This is something that, is a good thing to champion. I do agree that the overwhelming usage of Bitcoin is for non quote unquote illicit use. It depends whose perspective it is. If it's from a dictator, then they might say the whole thing's illicit use because they don't like free movement of money, but that's what it is. Now, the nuanced take is there's a part of this report where he basically states that chain surveillance allows them to have full control and access to everything on Bitcoin, so they'll be able to police any kind of criminal activity. And he specifically referenced a very hyperbolic reference. He said that it's going to be the same way that Osama bin Laden no longer used cell phones after he realized that America could listen to his calls. So he basically said, don't worry, we're going to do the same kind of global warrantless surveillance that we've done with every other network with Bitcoin. That's why Bitcoin's good. But I that's not true though. Even today, when we talk about my issues with using Bitcoin privately, it's for the average user. If you're a sophisticated criminal, you can use it relatively privately already. So I feel like he's not intentionally misleading people. I think he's just
ignorant.
He only has a surface level understanding of this shit.
Yeah. Well, I was highly skeptical of this. Number one, ex-CIA director. CIA is an evil organization. I mean, Golf of Tonkin. They've experimented with people in the past with vaccines, particularly in Missouri. MK Ultra. CIA is not I don't trust the CIA as far as I can throw them.
Marty trained his son on CIA. Whenever he hears CIA, he starts
He cries. He cries. He knows it's screams so somebody comes helps me. But so that's how I was skeptical. And yeah, the language of his note made it so Bitcoin, criminals won't be able to use Bitcoin, we'll be able to find them, which is, again, you described, number one, it's wrong. They can attain privacy, but two, is that the posturing that the lobbying towards the government is going to be moving forward? Are they going to attempt to make it so companies can track everybody, and if they can't track them, they can interact with those individuals?
Rubbed me the wrong. Oh yeah, go on.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is if Bitcoin doesn't work for criminals, Bitcoin doesn't work.
Right. I mean, if the U.S. government can stop some criminal from using it, some alleged criminal from using it, then a dictator can presumably stop a refugee or a protester from using it, right? It's the same argument as encryption. But anyway, the thing that rubbed me the wrong way is it really felt like, and our boy N Freak Raphael Jacobi mentions this a lot. is this idea that Chainalysis basically lobbied for an issue. They created this problem, this idea of illicit Bitcoin usage. Then they said, don't worry, we can solve this. And we can make sure that there's no illicit Bitcoin usage, but you have to use our service and you have to pay us a subscription fee. It feels like that lobbying is going straight to the US government from the ex-CIA director through this corporate lobbyist group, the CCI, that has two companies that are heavily involved in the change surveillance business. And it feels that should be a concern to people, in my opinion.
Like many people talk about the Trojan horse, like sailors trying to Trojan horse Bitcoin into the mainstream by just saying, like, posturing, like, hey, it's only a treasury asset and we'll button up. This seems like a Trojan horse from the opposite direction, to implant chain surveillance and make it harder to use Bitcoin. Like, again, if Bitcoin doesn't work for criminals, it doesn't work. Like, it has to be a peer-to-peer distributed cash system that cannot be censored by any third party. So I was not a fan of these ex-CIA head comments. Everybody was like going crazy about it on Twitter too.
Marty, it's because you get so much engagement if you just blindly say something is bullish. Like in a bull market, the nuanced takes get like fucking shit all for engagement. And anyone who just, and if you don't post a source, like the Twitter algo, it's better to you. And so what happens? What happens is in a bull market is you just get inundated with all this fucking noise that is hidden as, that is masquerades as super bullish news. It's the most bullish thing ever. And really, like in this case, it's probably just something to be aware of that doesn't really move the needle one way or the other, right? But a lot of my pushback is because we saw all of that, oh, this is the most bullish thing ever kind of fucking things come out.
Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. I don't like the CIA getting involved with Bitcoin. The ex-CIA director. The CIA is evil. You know, a lot of people think that's why JFK got murdered, because he wanted to abolish the CIA.
He was pro-Bitcoin.
Pro-Bitcoin. He wanted to shatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and blow it into the wind. Yeah.
But anyway,
is it a reverse Trojan horse? I think. I don't like that posturing. I don't like the posturing. Bitcoin.
To all the haters out there that aren't listening, we are aware Cash App is our lead sponsor, and that Square, their parent company, is one of the leads for the CCI. And as you can see here, we are more openly critical of their moves than 99% of Bitcoin media. So there's that.
Yeah. Take it as you will. Speaking, like, it's funny, like, here's another thing, Copa, something started by Square too. They sued Craig Wright for suing people for copyright infringement. So I guess they're bringing a suit against Craig, or lobbying to have a suit brought against him, to say he's making false copyright claims because he's not actually Satoshi. Could this backfire?
Yeah, there was also a lot of bullish tweets about this one too. I don't think it's a purely bullish headline, right?
Yeah, like, how could it like, there's so much nuance in the legal world, and like, you can't prove a negative, right?
That's what I think it's a net benefit that they're suing him. I think as many people should sue him as possible, and I don't want to do it. So if they're going to do it and they have deep pockets, then by all means. And to be fair, he sued multiple Alliance members before the Alliance went out and sued him. And this was for hosting the white paper that he pretended he wrote, and he's been pretending he wrote. And a lot of people in the community gave him protection for a long time and have never done a mea culpa about it and admitted fault and called him out definitively. And we still see you. There's a lot of you out there. We know who you are. The record doesn't lie. So it is cool to see a relatively newer entrant like Square, who is leading Copa, but it's a ton of companies are part of Copa now. It's this idea of this open, they they accumulate patents together and they use them together defensively rather than aggressively against each other. So in that way, it's good. But at the same time, it's important to keep clear that, you know, COPA doesn't have the rights to the white paper either. They can rip that out of my dead hands.
Are they claiming? I don't think they're claiming rights to it. Are
No,
they?
they're not. They're not. But they're suing him, right? That's where the misgiving happens, right? Is that you have this centralized organization suing people for suing people, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. And then the question is, should the response be just ignore him and let him fade into obscurity and irrelevance? Like, he was already going away in my mind. Or do you stand up? Like, because it is like a DDoS on.
We can't ignore him.
Yeah.
The ignoring, like, it's impossible. He won't let up.
Yeah, it is really annoying.
And then you have like people like the Financial Times and stuff that give him a platform.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully something like this can, like, if he's going to attack, he was attacking our, you know, our open source contributors.
Yeah, one of the lead maintainers, Vladimir, could seriously considered stepping away.
Yeah, I think that it's strictly a net benefit, this COPA thing. I'm way more supportive of that aspect. The CCI thing, I'm like super fucking
skeptical of,
sketched out about.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a net benefit as well, especially compared to the CCI thing.
My main concern about COPA is it does feel a little bit like an organization that can bully little companies into joining or being fucked. Which kind of sucks, but I don't know how you avoid that.
Yeah. So for the freaks out there who aren't aware what COPA is and what its initiative is, started by Square, as Matt described, and many more people have joined the alliance. It's basically a patent alliance where people can put forth patents that they're creating to only be used in a defensive nature, never to sort of create a moat.
To join, you have to give all of your patents as in the defense pact. You can't keep any out. So all of your so-called crypto patents have to be a part of the alliance, and any member in that alliance is allowed to use them, and you use them together.
Yeah, I think what we're getting at here, though, like I like this, especially the thought behind it, and like game theoretically, like playing it out, maybe it can backfire to some degree with the incentives that it creates, but really the underlying topic and point we should get here is that the IP laws are all fucked, right?
Yeah, I think that's like where a lot of my issues lie, right? It's like people are getting sued and patents are happening and all this shit, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like, information wants to be free, and if you don't have the private keys, you have nothing. And those two things obviate both of those two things, but that's not the world we live in, right? So because that's not the world we live in, we're going to have messy in-betweens in the process of hyper-Bitcoinization, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Net benefit, skeptical of the CCI, don't like the CIA director trying to force a narrative.
Really hated like my whole feed just like being like pro him out of nowhere just because like they had a bullish headline.
And it was only a bullish headline. Like, if you actually read further than the headline, he's like, these chain surveillance companies are going to make it so criminals can't use Bitcoin. It's like, that means Bitcoin doesn't work. No bueno. More, yeah, it is, bull market fluff. I know you hate bull markets. More bull market fluff. VanEck Bitcoin, quote unquote Bitcoin ETF, DAPP. Doesn't hold Bitcoin directly. It's basically an ETF of stocks that are tangentially related to Bitcoin mining stocks, Coinbase, Square, Imagine.
So I put this on here because historically, so first of all, freaks, like, I'm not trying to put high noise things on the list. So I think there's signal here. And the cool part is so the US government won't allow like a proper Bitcoin ETF. There's like a bunch of people that have been trying. It's a meme. Bitcoin ETF's coming. We've heard this since the last cycle. They won't allow an actual proper Bitcoin ETF, even though GBTC, which is a shitty version that's attempting to be ETF-like, is almost past fucking GLD, the largest gold ETF. But they allow this, right? Which allows you basically Van Eck, major ETF providers. They have tons of ETFs. Our boy Gabor is in charge of like their whole Bitcoin side of things. They allow them to do like Bitcoin companies in their ETF. One of the thresholds for this one is they're including companies that hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So it's like a fucking Russian doll Bitcoin ETF. Like MicroStrategy is one of the holdings. Like if you look at the holdings, it's Galaxy Digital who holds Bitcoin, but like a lot of shitcoins too, but they hold Bitcoin. Then it's Square who holds Bitcoin. Then it's Marathon that holds Bitcoin. Then it's Silvergate. I don't think they own Bitcoin, but they're heavily involved. Then there's Riot who owns Bitcoin. Then there's Voyager, have no idea who they are. Then there's MicroStrategy, which holds a little bit of Bitcoin. It just does a little bit, you know? So it's an interesting little a little end around, and it just shows how bullshit the whole fucking system is. That like that's allowed, but a proper Bitcoin ETF isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm tired of the ETF stuff. Just buy Bitcoin. Like you don't need it.
Yeah.
Same with Coinbase. Don't buy the stock. You don't need it. You just buy Bitcoin. One thing I will say about Coinbase, we'll give them props. Despite all the attention that was around their company and their app yesterday, their app did not crash, from what I can tell, which is something that historically happens.
The lowest
There's a lot of
bar
attention.
ever.
Right. We'll give that to them. Should we give the shout outs? The first
Like, before we do, like personally, like I would never own a Bitcoin ETF.
Neither would I.
The big argument has always been 401ks, and you should use our boy Vanju's service, and he's partnered with Unchained Capital recently to make it even easier for you to hold your own keys and have it in a tax efficient form if you're an American. But at the same time, like this idea that we have all this, I feel like Bitcoiners our eyes are open to like all this garbage that people are served through our financial markets, right? And it's so corrupt. Like watching every IPO you watch is like the most corrupt process ever. And like we saw it again, like with Coinbase specifically, it's like it was a topic that we knew well, right? That we watched and we saw it unfold. And you really see like the whole corruption and just like how the insiders are just able to make so much fucking money. And this idea that like a Bitcoin ETF, just a very simple Bitcoin ETF, just a way to have exposure to the underlying Bitcoin is considered high risk and isn't allowed, just shows like what a fucking garbage system it is. It's just like such a perfect example of how bullshit it all is.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of Coinbase specifically, got a story time. I went to a 30th birthday party over the weekend at a Topgolf. Just ripping drives. And at the end, we were like sitting, having drinks like at the bar at the Topgolf, and one of my buddy's friends, who I've never met before, comes up to me and just puts his phone on my face, and it's Coinbase. And it's just like it's the first time I've seen the Coinbase app in person in years. And it's just like a list of shit coins. He's like, "What do you think about VeChain?" I'm like, "I couldn't tell you two things about VeChain." And I sat there and I had to sit through a VeChain pitch for like 5 minutes. And I just had to be like, "You're talking to the wrong dude, guy."
Freaks, whatever Marty was just referring to, do not buy that shit.
But
should we go for shout outs?
We will, but before, one last point. It was interesting that Bernie Madoff died yesterday as Coinbase IPO'd. It's like one scammer dying and Phoenix rising in the Coinbase.
My favorite was
Ether.
I found out Bernie found out Bernie Madoff died because Brecky von Bitcoin tweeted out Bernie Madoff died in prison based on Pomp, who didn't post a source, based on Zero Hedge, who didn't post a source, based on me, who didn't post a source. So I saw three tweets down the line without a source. And that's just classic Twitter.
Classic Twitter. Yeah. Do we say rest in peace, Bernie Madoff? I mean,
Yeah,
hopefully-
R.I.P. He's a person.
Yeah, hopefully you're redeemed for your sins, sir. I hope you contemplated all the scamming you did while in prison. Ruined
He
a lot of
was
people's lives.
completely interconnected with this whole fucking system. He was, very much a scapegoat in some ways. A lot of people got off that knew. But I mean, he was the mastermind.
Yeah, it was like a very well-known, untalked about secret in the industry, correct?
He was super well connected, wasn't he? Like, he was the head of a bunch of like regulatory shit.
Yeah, FINRA, I believe. He was on the board of a bunch of stuff.
Fucking
as well.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Really close with JP Morgan, from what I understand.
Like if it was like 15 years ago, like he'd probably be lecturing you about why KYC is important. Like that's the type of dude he was.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, rest in peace. We're trying
How
to get
did he
away.
die?
Yeah, he's 82. I think he just died of natural causes.
Well, are we sure? Like we got Zorn 101 in the comments saying Madoff did not kill himself.
I don't know.
Where are Madoff conspiracies?
What are they? I don't have the comments open this week. What are the conspiracies?
Zorn says Epstein killed Madoff.
I could imagine that there's some conspiracies that he's going to spill the beans on some stuff. That's an easy one to ponder.
I heard he had like a super cushy job, and like in prison he like had medical marijuana and stuff, and like everything was really nice and cushy for him. Yeah, Bernie Madoff was chairman of NASDAQ. Like this idea that like it was isolated to just him is like the most ridiculous fucking thing ever. Shout out to Rad Vladdy in the comments coming through with that nice little snippet.
Yeah, it was crazy how many people lost my. Cause I remember one of the Phillies pitchers, like had a bunch of money invested with him. I think it was not Corey Lytle. Corey Lytle was the guy who flew a plane into a building in New York accidentally.
My grandmother's friends had like all of their life savings in with Bernie, and now they like drive cabs. They drive like black cars.
Really?
They're fucking in their 80s. They're a couple in their 80s, like super fucking sad.
That's fucked up. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people committed suicide after that. They put all their eggs in his basket. He was running a Ponzi scheme. This is why we Bitcoin, so we don't have to hold funds with Bernie Madoffs of the world. You can just store your wealth in a scarce digital good, and that is expected to pump forever, as Matt Odell would say. You don't have
It's
to go.
a Ponzi for the people, by the people.
It's not a.
It's actually more of a pyramid scheme because there's no Ponzi at the top.
Yes. I like the way Mencius Goldbug described Bitcoin as a bubble. Money is a bubble, but a good bubble.
Well, good money is a good bubble.
Yeah.
Should we hit him with the shout outs?
We should hit him with the shout outs. There's a funny one. Apparently, this is hilarious, actually. Apparently, the person who sent the hex code actually didn't want to read it to me. They were trying to make a point, which I understand. Like
They made a point.
I've known about this for quite a while. DJ, if you're listening, listen to this point. The previous hex was to prove how easy it is to spam the spam. There's no limit in this text field. I can go on forever and deny all the other freaks from your content. Danger. I actually didn't expect it to be read in full. So ridiculously long, but you perform good work. I think we'll verify soon. Previous shout out TXID. So he shared the transaction ID of that shout out, so I can verify that it was actually him that paid for
That's
it.
fakeable.
How?
I guess it's not that fakeable. He should
would
have
have to
signed a
have-
message.
He
Well,
would have
yeah,
to
he
have
should
access
send
to
a
our
message.
BTC Pay server.
Right.
So it could be DJ fucking with us.
It's true.
Um,
But anyway, I mean, we have a transaction fee to reduce spam.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, if you want to spam and pay us while you're doing it, I want to consider that spam, right?
I would not consider, I mean, one man's spam is another man's fucking proper transaction, right? I don't believe in spam as long as you pay the proper fee. I thought that was one of the best shout outs I've ever heard on Rabbit Hole Recap, period.
A lot of controversy around it.
I think that was like peak shout out right now. Like is the top in? Definitely not for Bitcoin, maybe for shout outs.
I saw some freaks talking about sending in a shout out that would we would broadcast the transaction via shout out. Please
That's
don't do
kind of
that.
cool.
That's going to be way too long.
You verbally.
Yes.
Yeah, no, Marty has already said that he's not going to do that again. So
Yeah, and don't like try to get around it in a roundabout way by doing
You
a
should.
transaction broadcast instead of a hexadecimal.
100%. Just you should constantly try and beat the system, freaks. That's why we're here.
Okay, Matt, I'm going to read the shout out now.
Okay.
Matt, are you ready?
No.
Matt,
Oh,
are
yeah,
you
I'm
ready?
ready.
Are you ready?
1 sec.
No, this is a shout out. I'm reading the shout out now.
Wait, has the whole thing been you ready?
What I just said is part of the shout out. Okay, now it's
continue.
done. Thank you, freak. Next shout out. Hold on. Okay, I'm done with the shout out. Next one. This is from our boy Marty Bent. Should I read it? Should I read it?
Well, I don't. Is this part of the shout out? I don't know. Like,
It says,
are we in
please-
shout
It says,
outs?
please don't read the shout out. Should I
How
still
many
read
shout
it?
outs have we done so far?
Should I?
Have we done? Is this part of the shout out?
That was the shout out. Yeah, this guy had like a script for me to confuse you.
I dig it. How many shout outs was that?
We're 2 in.
Okay.
I think we might only have 2 this week, actually. Let me jump.
That was a pretty good shout out.
Right?
I was confused.
I was too when it originally came. And I was like, oh, I see what you're doing here. Yeah, 2 shout outs this week. I think that may be a product of the fact that our BTC Pay server was down for a few days. Had to get that back up. So 2 shout outs. Thank you, freaks. We love the shout out section. That last one was very creative. To the freak who sent that one. I think we got Matt.
I'm still confused. Did we read the shout outs?
We did. That was the shout out.
I appreciate you, freaks. Thank you.
It's yeah.
You make it worth it.
He was trying to troll you with that one. He or she. Could have been a woman as well.
Or they.
Or they. Or a Zir. All right, we're a short list this week, man. I've got something I want to add to the list, though. It's about our good friends at the Financial Action Task Force. We'll get to that at the end. Software updates, BTC,
Of course you do.
RPC Explorer version 3.0 has been released. Anything you want to talk about here? We haven't read.
It's a secret dope project that's in pretty much every one of the node packages. If you want to use your own Bitcoin Explorer, so cheers to that.
Yeah, I was going to say I haven't seen this on the software updates list ever.
Well, this was a major release. 3.0.
So it's new designs. They got dark mode redesign.
More performant.
Support for prune nodes and nodes with disabled TX index. Shout out to Sheshik for that. Mempools summary improvements. Mining summaries. Yeah. Seems pretty major. Major refactoring, modernization, and code reuse improvements. Shout out to everybody working on that. Making node UX better. Getting more information to node operators. I thought this was pretty big, but I'm gonna defer to you. The Trezor Suite update.
No, what you think is big hasn't been released yet.
Yeah, the thread that they posted, right?
Right. So Trezor Suite just updated it. What are the change? You have the notes in front of you. I can't because
Yeah, so they've
Zoom
got,
sucks for screen share.
Yeah, so the focus on this release is to make sure that everything is primed and ready for Trezor Suite to leave its beta phase to become the main interface for managing your Trezor device. So they got new design for accounts.
It's like basically not that big of an update.
No, but the thread.
Right. So
Talking
Trezor
about-
Suite is historically in the past, Trezor has used a web wallet, wallet.trezor.io. The default when you bought a Trezor hardware wallet was you used the web wallet, the website. Ledger, their main competitor, especially in the shitcoin landscape, has their own applications. They have Ledger Live. They have it on computer and they have it on phone. So Trezor needed to catch up to that. So they released Trezor Web Suite. Trezor Suite, not Web Suite. And that's a native application on your computer that manages your Trezor, right? And one of the first things they did was they added native Tor, which is really good to see. So even though you still use Trezor's node, when you use it, if you go through Tor, at least they won't have your IP address. They have your addresses. They know the addresses are connected to each other. They know your transactions, but they don't know your IP address. So presumably they remove that one personal piece of information, which is a net benefit. They released a whole thread the other day where they said they were going to add easy full node support, which is what we're seeing Ledger do now as well, which is really good to see. Coin control. It's been a fucking long time. Yeah. Where the fuck has coin control been? I'm glad that's coming. In the meantime, you can use your Trezor with Electrum or Wasabi and have coin control, or Spectre with Bitcoin Core and have coin control, and CoinJoin. And they kind of just put CoinJoin in a tweet.
Right.
And people ask them, you know, what implementation you're going to use, how you're going to do it. They're like, wait and see. Like, we'll show you. So these are important things. I want all of these things in Trezor's suite. I just don't want to blow too much smoke up their ass until they actually ship something. Like I've gotten false promises on these things for such a long time that I'm just so broken.
Broken? You're broken?
I'm a realist about it, and I will believe it when it ships. It's the same way I treat shit coins. You know, like, don't ask me about some like hypothetical magical shit coin until they at least ship. They should at least have a fucking chain up.
No, I agree. I'm not going to laud too much praise on them until it is shipped, but that would be awesome. And full node support, so you don't have to send your transaction and address information to their servers. Coin control, like you said, where the hell has it been? That should be easy standard. Implemented. Yeah, it should be standard. And that
with labeling.
Yeah, it's like there's no excuses, and it is like infuriating. It's like, all right, you're going to support all these shit coins, but you're not going to have coin control.
They support 1,600 shit coins.
Wow. Like the amount of technical debt and engineering and resources that are wasted by supporting all those shit coins it's sad to think what could be produced if
the cold card.
Yeah, right, exactly. And CoinJoin. Do you think they're going to roll their own implementation? You think they're?
I don't know. It doesn't really matter. They could roll the shittiest CoinJoin ever, and it's still a net benefit for the space. So I commend them on that. Like I like if Trezor is widely used, like their their suite, whatever their wallet, the software side, is probably one of the most used pieces of software in the Bitcoin space. Like, people underestimate how much Ledger and Trezor have in terms of market share among normies, especially. So if we can get them on board the CoinJoin train, if we can get Ledger on board the CoinJoin train, build it directly into their native fucking clients. Obviously, I'd prefer if it was well thought out and we had shared liquidity pools, where they actually bought into the liquidity pools. And it's really cool because Samurai actually thought of that ahead of time. Their whole system is set up so these players can easily integrate into the liquidity pools and get a cut of the fees. So they have an incentive to actually fucking do it. Because of where Samurai sits among the community, I'm highly doubtful that Trezor or Ledger will integrate with their liquidity pools. But my point is like, I don't even fucking care anymore. Like, if we have more CoinJoin usage by more normal users, less hardcore users, net benefit. I don't fucking care if it's bad or implementation or not.
I would agree there. Just getting more people acquainted with just the concept of a CoinJoin and the fact that they should be thinking about it as a net benefit at the end of the day. Correct.
100%. And coin control is a massive benefit. Tor is a pretty big benefit, and then full node use is another massive benefit in terms of using Bitcoin privately. So they seem to be in the correct direction, and I want to support that. And we will keep talking about you, Trezor, if you continue down this path. We will dedicate so much time to you on this podcast. So just keep going down that path.
Yes, keep going down that path. And speaking of this path, not on the list, but I just thought to bring it up, something I wrote about last weekend. Did you see that MIT hackathon around PayJoin.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. They had the PayJoin mobile PayJoin implementation beta or test product.
Yeah. So Onion 78, I believe, is the implementation. I forget the exact wallet.
No, they like created it. It was a
Yeah.
fresh. It was just a straight PayJoin implementation on mobile.
Mm-hmm. And so like, what really impressed me with this is what is the biggest knock on mobile PayJoins?
Well, Samurai has mobile PayJoins,
Yeah,
and
no,
they're pretty.
they've
They've been used
stowaway.
more.
They've stowaway, but what is the biggest knock? That both people have to have their phones open and the software running at the same time, correct?
Right.
It has to be hot, right? And the one thing I really was impressed with this particular hackathon is like the use of UX and UI communication within the app to make it very obvious, right? Like if you're sending this, if you're receiving Bitcoin in this way, you have to keep your phone open. And people are like, "Oh, that's like this will never be scalable because everybody has to keep their phone open and their app open while it's going on." But like you can communicate these things with design. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like a good design can make these experiences better.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and Samurai made great strides with that recently because they switched from QR code based to there's a P2P Tor connection that happens. They're calling that Soroban.
Yeah.
And they open that up so other wallets can add to that. But once again, other wallets aren't going to add it because it is what it is. Yeah, I think, look, I think PayJoin excels in two situations. You're paying a merchant, which we've seen a lot of push for that, especially with this new standard, the P2EP standard, where like you pay a BTC Pay merchant. We have this enabled on our store. And that BTC Pay merchant is obviously always online anyway because it's fucking BTC Pay server. And if we need to do Lightning anyway, we're already going to have a hot wallet, right? So that's like a perfect candidate. And then the second candidate, which is the one Samurai kind of cornered in the early on, they realized this pretty early, is like if I'm paying you in person, obviously we're both online, right? Like if I'm next to you, or even if I'm not next to you, like right now I need to pay you and you're in Austin, I'll be like, Marty, I'm going to pay you. And you open the app and we do that communication and I pay you, right? Like that's not too much of a reach to ask for the receiver to just approve it on theirs. Basically, that's what you need. You need the approver, you need the receiver to like press the approve button on their side to share an input and create it, you know?
Yeah. No, I think that's the point I wanted to make with this is like you can use design and communication within these apps to make that obvious and reduce the chance of failed transactions. And I think people have made it out to be a UX problem that cannot be overcome. But I think what the hackathon proved is like you can communicate these with users and users will adapt if the design pushes them and nudges them in that direction, which makes me extremely bullish on these types of privacy tools.
My issue, Marty, is we have the capability. We need developers to fucking stand up and not be scared of implementing privacy focused things.
Do you think they're scared or just lazy?
Marty, the question
push?
is we have many good Bitcoin mobile wallets now, and we didn't 3 years ago. We have many good Bitcoin mobile wallets now. There's like almost none of them are offering privacy focused features. Why? And I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not offering those things. I don't have a fucking wallet that I'm offering those things, but the question comes down to why. And the reason is because I think is that a lot of developers, a lot of teams are scared to implement these things. They don't want to implement them.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. But like that's what was interesting about this hackathon. You're seeing developers who aren't afraid.
But it was a hackathon.
Yeah.
Right? True. It was like, and specifically, it was Casa engineers.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's cool. So when does Casa add PayJoin? When does Casa add CoinJoin? Right? When does Casa add? Casa has added coin control last I checked. which was dope. I'm very happy they did that. When do they add labeling to their coin control? So that in 10 years, I know what the fucking differences are anyway.
Yeah. Let's put the pressure on freaks. Demand it. If you are a user of these products.
Oh, Ben the Carmen's saying they were chain case devs, which is dope. I mean, chain case has actually pushed fucking shit. They have their own version of Wasabi forked for mobile.
Yeah. I believe the chief security officer of Casa was part of the hackathon team too.
Right? Because I only saw it because of Lop.
Yeah.
Lop was bragging, Ben, for the record. We have Ben the Carmen in the comments.
Lop, I've got egg on my face because of you, Jameson.
Why?
That M1 chart that he posted and he has on his website. It's wrong. The Crypto Voices guys have it right. Bitcoin's actually higher in terms of global currencies, in terms of M1 money stock. It's at like number 6 right now, potentially number 5. He includes like Spain, Germany, Italy, and France in that list, but they should all be under the euro. So I wrote a whole newsletter on it, and I should have known, Marty, because I've been following the Crypto Voices.
Don't trust verify, Marty.
I know. I didn't verify. It was the travel day when I came down here to Austin. It was like late, and I was just trying to get something out, and I wrote in haste. I'm sorry, freaks. Anybody read that? It was misinformation, spreading misinformation.
And how good does the BISC price look, though?
Oh, approaching 73K. 12.24% premium right now.
I feel like Tales from the Crypt is a failure if live RHR doesn't pump the BISC price.
Pump it.
It's not very liquid, freaks. If you care, you'd pump it live.
Yeah. And I love all you freaks. I love all you freaks to give shout outs. To say that we don't pump BISC, like it's literally the BISC price has been on the screen the whole time. Use BISC.
Braj is telling me that Casa has now added labeling. To be clear, freaks, when Casa was a sponsor, I paid out of pocket for a Casa Platinum membership to make sure that it was a decent product for you freaks. I came to the conclusion that it was a decent product as long as you were willing to trust them with your privacy. And then I proceeded to never use their wallet. And I paid the full price for that, which at the time was like fucking 30 million sats or something. It's like $1,800. I don't even know. I don't want to know exactly what the Bitcoin price was when I did it. But just for the record, that's how I know what's going on with that wallet. And I canceled that subscription when they canceled their sponsorship. And that was a little bit ago. So there you go.
Yes. More egg on my face. I wanted to start an epic thread, particularly on KYC AML leaks, and not only in the Bitcoin space, but beyond, just to prove and drive home the fact that KYC AML data collection does more harm than good and puts many, many, many millions, hundreds of millions of individuals around the world, billions of people around the world in harm's way as their very sensitive, intimate, personal data gets leaked to the internet because these companies, governments, whatever it may be, are piss poor at actually securing the data, and they're forcing you to give it over. So you're caught between a rock and a hard place in a lot of cases, and it's just bad for humanity overall. I wanted to start a thread to document this, and I picked an alleged Paxful KYC leak that Youssef is claiming to be fake. Egg on my face again.
I don't think that's egg on your face. I think it's still a cautionary tale. I mean, it was an alleged 5 million KYC documents. Paxful is a full KYC service. I appreciate them that they focus on emerging markets, but they're 100% a KYC service. It is what it is. They operate within the laws that are given to them. To this point, we have two sides of the story, and there's no way for us to prove it either way. So you should just assume that any KYC documents you fucking give to any of these companies, including our sponsors, will be leaked eventually. You should just assume that because you can't verify anything anyway. That's the only thing that's safe to assume. And it's important to realize when you have something like the Ledger leak, there was 1 million people that had email addresses only leaked. There was there was a subset of those that had full names and addresses leaked, but there was the overwhelming majority was emails only. You mix that with other leaks, and an attacker has all that other information, right? Like if LinkedIn gets hacked and your email address is in there with your address and your name and your fucking photo and where you went to school and your fucking mother's maiden name and all your fucking intimate fucking information, the hacker, any malicious person can connect those two databases together easy peasy. It's the Excel document shit.
Yeah. I mean, process of elimination, combining disparate hacks. It's really, again, dangerous. Does more harm than good. And this actually a good segue into the FATF topic that I wanted to bring in to this episode. And there's basically a gentleman by the name of Simon Lelyveld. I'm going with Lelyveld, who's been trying to make the case that FATF is actually like an unlawful organization. So he's saying a follower from academic circles reached out to me to confirm that the Financial Action Task Force is indeed not a legal entity. So again, one lawyer saying this, but confirming that the OECD provides the secretariat to the Financial Action Task Force, and the Financial Action Task Force has no legal personality in France as an association or otherwise. So we're taking guidelines from an organization that isn't even a legal entity around all this KYC AML data collection that we've been talking about ad nauseum since this podcast started. And this is like where the guidelines for all these large corporations and governments emanate from, this weird, obscure task force that started in France, apparently, but according to a lawyer in France, there's no legal entity within France known as the Financial Action Task Force. You're staring at me. What's up?
I mean, like Marty, like the world isn't fair.
I know.
You know, like
I'm not saying it's fair.
we have corrupt fucking bureaucrats ruling everything around us.
Unelected.
I appreciate whoever this guy was letting us know that this is another corrupt bureaucracy that is like breaking laws. Like what it means nothing to me. To me, it's just like it's just more bullshit that we have to deal with. It doesn't. There's nothing actionable there. You know.
Well, maybe the action is better educating the populace around the fact that this is an unelected body of bureaucrats that make these guidelines that eventually, most of the time, get implemented by corporations and governments that actually have effect on end users like ourselves at the end of the day. And maybe, hey, the first part of solving a problem is what? Identifying a problem and highlighting a problem. Most people are probably like, oh, they're elected. We have to listen to them. It's like, no, actually, they're not. They're not legal. And we're letting them create this surveillance system that's actually putting billions of people in harm's way with all this data collection.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's the status quo is fucked up, freaks.
Yeah.
Don't bend the knee to the status quo.
Fight back. Fight back. And you know who's doing that? Our boy Gladstein. He's starting a bi-weekly column at Bitcoin Magazine. That's probably the thing we were discussing when that gentleman drew a picture of us on Tuesday night. And his first column, he's going to be doing this every other week, is Bitcoin is a Trojan horse for freedom. So he's been on here describing that. He's got a long...
See his new meme, FGU?
Freedom go up, baby. FGU. So he's going to be doing this column every Wednesday, I believe.
No. So bi-weekly is a tragedy of English. no one knows when you say biweekly whether you mean twice a week or every 2 weeks.
That'd be semi-weekly.
Biweekly can mean every twice a week.
If I recall correctly during the conversation, he said every other week.
Right, he's doing it every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That is what he is doing.
Yeah.
But I think biweekly could be both.
No, it's semi.
Semi-weekly versus biweekly?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, either way, I mean, it's going to be every 2 weeks. This is a fantastic partnership. You know, we love Gladstein here. So
Yeah. I mean, he's on the front lines pushing this stuff forward, fighting for privacy. I mean, that like in terms of like having an ally in the privacy front in like the Human Rights Foundation, like you have them openly advocating for Bitcoin privacy technology and funding it as well, funding developers working on it. And if you want to play to the emotions of skeptical no-coiners and friends who are like, oh, it's too private, like criminals and drug dealers can use it, just point them towards the Human Rights Foundation, the work they're doing to fund privacy development within Bitcoin and why they're doing it too. Like Matt said earlier, criminals can use it privately, yes, but also refugees and people escaping these despotic regimes. Sorry, I got the baby screaming in the background, freaks.
no, I mean the baby heard despotic regimes and couldn't help himself.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this is an organization I 100% support. Gladstein at the helm over there as their chief strategy officer has been massive, in my opinion. I mean, he's become a close friend. He's a freak. You know, you had dinner with him the other day and drinks.
And he was actually telling me the CEO of HRF is becoming more and more orange pilled.
Of course he is. Like, can you imagine dealing with Gladstein all the time and not be? That'd be like dealing with us all the time and not be. Like, it's ridiculous. He's probably incessant about it. He's probably fucking annoying.
Yeah, I heard a rumor that Bitcoin Tina may have her ear as well.
I do like in the comments we have Jeff Teague saying that he should have used the term fortnightly for every 2 weeks. What do we think about fortnightly?
I mean, fortnightly. I mean, it's very specific. Every 2 weeks. Fortnight is 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, every fortnight.
But in general, I mean, I think this is just another case of Bitcoin Magazine, the team over there, this new growing team of plebs, just fucking completely turning around that organization. I mean, this is a very good for Bitcoin. We needed a proper fucking news organization to actually care about Bitcoin rather than like crypto blockchain bullshit.
Dude,
and just the turnaround over there with that team is just been absolutely amazing to watch. And yes, disclosure, I've been consulting for them, but that just means I have a front row seat at this fucking turnaround, and it's been fucking gorgeous. So cheers to everyone over there.
Yeah, dude, I just did a virtual conference panel on Bitcoin mining energy consumption. I took it to one of the Diginomics guys, whatever it's called. That week publication that always comes at Bitcoin mining and the energy it uses. But dude, like between we got into the Zoom call early, everybody on my panel, and we had to wait through like 5 minutes of commercials for this shitcoin conference. And it was brutal, dude. You had like them shilling Akon's shitcoin, like all the shitcoin exchanges, shilling like all the DeFi protocol. It was like actually disgusting. What was going on there. So again, yeah, happy to see we have more Bitcoin focused content, more signal in the space. The bull run, people taking advantages with these virtual conferences and other conferences. Like it's
what our boy Adam Curry always talks about, right? Is that the shitcoiners will pay you the most ad dollars, period. Like you get shitcoiners as your sponsors and you get the best ad dollars. So literally to run a news organization that relies on ad money, but keep it Bitcoin only, is you're just turning away revenue constantly. It's just a constant battle about turning away revenue and just and I don't have to tell you this. I mean, this is what we fucking do all the time at Tales from the Crypt, right?
Yeah, I mean, you should see my inbox is just a graveyard of shitcoiners trying to get me to take their money.
Right. So the expansion of that is fucking gorgeous, right? Like we want to see this Bitcoin only network expand, this Bitcoin focused network expand, and watching it happen at Bitcoin Magazine has just been really, really fucking dope. And seeing them get people like Gladstein to do these regular contributions, I think is a massive step forward for the whole space. So cheers to that.
Agreed. Cheers. Shout out to Bitcoin Magazine. Shout out to Gladstein. Keep crushing it. I got Ben the Carman in my DMs. Do I have a link to the Crypto Voices correction on Lob's M1 chart? He has it listed for BitDevs.
Aren't you going to see him in like 2 hours?
Yeah, but
Ben?
he has it listed for BitDevs. And Ben, no, they didn't do an official correction, but if you go to their pinned tweet, that was the latest update from Q1 or Q4 2020, excuse me. And if you like, they haven't updated it yet, but if you go back to,
Are you responding to the
20.
DM via
yeah,
live
I
RHR?
was listening. So the information is there in their pin tweet, and in their pin tweet, excluding gold and silver, Bitcoin was already number 6 in terms of global base money. So already higher.
Yeah. So the next 2 episodes of Tales from the Crypt are going to be Ben the Carman. We have Marty had a conversation with him and Chris Stewart. That's going to drop tomorrow, and then on Tuesday we're going to do live still dispatch. Me, him, and Evan Clutis. So
Yeah, Ben said it didn't need to respond on air, but Ben, that was much more efficient. And
see, he responded. He was listening. You're correct. Boomer Marty with the voice text to every freak.
Boomer more. What do you think about YouTube stars calling us Bitcoiners boomers?
Who's calling us boomers?
That dude Akeem Star, whatever the fuck his name is.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I didn't know until people started acting like.
I know you're talking about the Ripple guy. I'm cool with pretending I don't know who he is.
Have fun with Ripple. Have fun with it. Yeah. Shitcoin IPO. Oh,
we already talked about that.
Good headline. I like this headline.
Clever, right?
Yeah. Matt has shit all capital coin.
Yeah, lowercase shit, all capital coin IPO.
Yeah, valued at $66 billion. We already talked about it. This is scary for our Mexican freaks out there. Mexico's Senate approves the creation of a biometric cell phone registry. Lovely.
This is so fucked up. This is scarier not just for Mexico. This is, if it's just Mexico, then there's a market for Bitcoiners to pay people to send SIMs in.
Right. So they have to basically put a fingerprint down to get a SIM card, correct?
Fingerprint and potentially eye data as well.
Oh, lovely.
Pupil data. We've seen KYC creep into the cell phone market very, very quickly. And the reason is because cell phones are basically used as an authentication now for people. It's used, like they use the cell phone number as a soft KYC for services, right? Like if you're going to use Twitter or something, you're using that cell phone number as basically soft KYC to use Twitter. So if they can KYC the actual activation of the phone number, then they have that ultimate source. And in classic authoritarian fashion, they said it's to stop kidnapping and extortion.
Yeah. They always say it's for stuff like that. And that certainly does happen a lot in Mexico. But just look at the language of this Reuters.
The criminals are going to get it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Just look at the language of this Reuters article. And it's like crazy to see how this gets lost on people. So like the legislation, which had already passed in the lower house, aims to counter crime by requiring telecom companies to collect customer data, including fingerprints or eye biometrics, for a national registry managed by Mexico's telecoms regulator, the IFT. A national registry, like list. Like when people start getting list.
The sad part is the fucking cartels are going to all fucking get that list and they're going to use it against their enemies. It's
Right.
doing the exact opposite of what they're saying it's doing. It's fucking tragic. This is
be
bullshit.
surprised that the cartels are somewhat pushing this forward. Like, aren't they pretty intertwined with the Mexican government already?
Yeah. I mean, like, look, I'll already tell you, freaks, there's going to be a story on RHR at some point in the near future about all this data fucking leaking, right? Like it's going to be for sale pretty soon on, as the mainstream media likes to call it, low-level hacker forums.
Well, be aware, freaks. Be aware. That's why we put these stories on the list. That's why we talk about them, so you can be aware, so you can be better educated, so you can better identify problems. The first part to creating a solution to a problem is identifying your problems. That's what we're trying to do here, is identify problems, logical inconsistencies, and bullish news as well. And good things happening in the Bitcoin space to bring the signal to you guys. That was a short list today, Matt. I was not expecting it to be that short.
I know it feels like a lot has happened, but I'm telling you, most of it was like Coinbase and Taproot.
Okay.
It really wasn't. And also just like, I don't know, like, I assume the freaks can't concentrate, right, guys? Like, it's just the number go up is just really just destroys my brain.
Me personally, like I haven't been that distracted by it. It's pretty boring all-time high that we're hovering at right now.
Marty, I'm in full FOMO mode right now. Like I'm literally, I'm pouring in every last sat I can stack. I'm doing it. And I am unabashedly assaulting my friends and family and telling them that they need to pour money. Like I spoke to someone the other day was like, I have this money for a house. I'm worried about, I've been trying to buy a house and like the market's running away from me. I don't know what to do or whatever. And historically I would tell them like, stay humble and stack, right? Like everyone knows like that's Matt. Like of course he's going to say that. I was like, you should just put it all into Bitcoin. That was my response. I was like, you should just put it all into Bitcoin. I didn't even, there was no qualifications there. I didn't say like, it's a high risk investment. It's this or that. Like that's where we are in the cycle right now. Where like, if I
urgency. Matt feels a sense.
There's a sense of urgency. I really do think that 200K by conference day is still in play. And that is, what is that, fucking 50 days away?
Not even. It's we're on the 15th right now.
So right. So even if I'm wrong, and we're at like a humble 140K or something.
Yeah, it's 50 days on the dot. You're right.
Like who's going to be fucking upset with that shit? No one's going to be upset with that shit. And no one can tell me that I am being irresponsible when the CEO of Goldman Sachs calls a 500K price target. Whoa. Okay.
Was that, did he call that? There was some misinformation going around. Like, didn't one of the block guys say that he was talking about Bitcoin replacing gold? It actually wasn't him. It was the dude from Galaxy, Novo.
Oh, wait. Did David Solomon not say that it's going to flip gold?
It wasn't David Solomon. One of the block reporters had to come out and correct his misquote. It was a misquote. It was Novo.
Oh, well, Novo's obviously going to do this bullshit fucking...
Yeah.
Okay, well, a lot of people, myself included, thought that the CEO of Goldman Sachs called for $500,000 Bitcoin. So that alone is bullish as fuck.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like... Marty, I am so fucking bullish right now. Like, I'm in the incessant annoying phase of this cycle.
I'm starting to feel bad for my family. I haven't been that annoying to my family members at all.
You should see my lady, man. My lady, I'm like, I overheard the other day, I like walked by the room and she was like talking on the phone. She's like, if you don't buy this right now, like we will still take care of your children, but we won't do it happily. Like we wish you like would participate in it. I was like, what the fuck? I walked in after the call. I was like, you have to be a little bit nicer to these people. Like they're confused. They're lost. They have no idea what's going on.
Shaming into stack, a shame stack. Is that what we should call the first stack after you get shamed into it by a Bitcoiner? A shame stack.
Yeah, I'm with her though. I'm at the point of the cycle where I'm just shaming fucking friends and family, trying to get them in.
You know what? I do feel good. I didn't get friends in, but I at the Top Golf that I mentioned earlier, I had two buddies who got married within the last 2 years, and I'm that deadbeat friend who's extreme.
Oh, I give them all Bitcoin, man. They're all up so much.
I was like
Every wedding I've ever been to, they're just up a shit ton.
Well, I was 2 years late, and I brought 2 open dimes to Top Golf and loaded them with some sats and handed them over. I was like, I'm sorry, but hopefully this makes up for it. I think it will.
Oh, you gave them after the wedding?
Yes.
Yeah, there's literally no wedding that I've been to. Like the average wedding that I've been to is up like 10x. They're fucking killing it.
Right? It's like, yeah, that average wedding gift is up significantly. And the open dime's the best too, because it's
so good.
It's not as straightforward to move the sats, so there's like it's somewhat of a forced hold.
Wait, and also like even the biggest hater of Bitcoin thinks it's the coolest fucking piece of hardware ever.
Well, I handed it to my one buddy. His wife saw it, and she like was like just inspecting it. She was like, "We need to buy more." Like,
right, because it's cool. It just looks cool.
Yeah.
It just looks like the future.
Yeah. All right. I've got a call here in 30. I need to go buy a micro SD adapter. Oh wait, no, I don't. We're recording through Zoom, so I don't have to do that. Luckily,
I have no idea what you're talking about, Boomer.
I've got a micro SD in my Rodecaster. I don't have a micro SD adapter to plug into my laptop. I got to go get one for the locally recorded audio. So I got to do that before tomorrow for the Ben the Carman Tress Stewart episode.
Oh, you haven't recorded that yet?
No, I did, but on a micro SD, and I don't have a micro SD adapter to move the file to my computer.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Marty's a victim of the standards.
Oh, yeah. This MacBook, the little engine that could. I've had it since like 2014. It's creating better audio visual quality than my M1 Mac Mini plus camera setup at home. So very interesting.
Marty, you brought the family down to Austin, right?
Yeah, I'm sure you freaks saw my brother holding my son walk behind me at one point.
I don't think they saw it. I saw it, but I think you weren't speaking, so they didn't see it. But even if they did, they saw it very little. We're like the little thumbnails, which I love. Are you bringing your family down to Miami for Bitcoin 2021?
I am not. My brother wanted to come, but I said, hey, just meet us in Austin. My wife and I have a Airbnb with an extra room. Stay with us there. Save that. Don't buy a conference ticket. You don't need to. Stack sats instead. That was my advice.
So your wife's not coming down either?
She is.
Oh, she is, but no baby.
No baby.
No baby. Cool. Well, I look forward to seeing you both in Miami. There's been a lot of progress has been made over there. I mean, I don't know why you're a freak and you don't have a ticket. I do. If you're questioning whether or not it's worth it to come down to Miami for the conference, don't come. Just stack sats. If you have to ask, you don't have enough Bitcoin. And none of us have enough Bitcoin, but like you should probably just stack instead. Like I will humbly say that. If you're feeling like you've saved a lot of money this year and you've poured it into Bitcoin, I really do think like this conference is going to be a once in a lifetime type of thing. I think people desire human contact. We've had this ridiculous last 2 years. I think Bitcoin could be trading over 200K. And even if I'm wrong by half, it could be trading over 100K. And it'll be an absolutely ridiculous party with a shit ton of Bitcoiners. On the conference side, they just keep adding things. And like, I'm not even allowed to talk about this. But they just keep adding things. Like the tracks are getting ridiculous. Like in terms of speakers, like it's fucking awesome. Like, yeah, I don't know what I'm allowed to say or what I'm not allowed to say, but if you haven't bought your ticket, consider buying a ticket. And they haven't rug pulled my promo code yet. So I still have code HUMBLE. You get 15% off now. It used to be 21%. It's the best I can do. And I don't make any money off of that. So consider it.
Stay humble. Look at your stack. Look at your available capital and make the decision. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Marty, I miss you, man. It's been a fucking minute. I haven't seen you since like 18K.
I miss you too, dude. Wow. Wow. That's crazy. Dude, and doing like an in-person with Chris Stewart and Ben yesterday, like just felt good. The in-person vibes are so much better.
I hope that when people look back and they realize when I was with you and Arbed out at like 18K, like I just saw the future and I was just completely lost control. I was just like, I couldn't help myself.
Do you still have moral hangover from that one?
I mean, what we're 3x. We're 3x from the last time we saw each other.
More than that, yeah.
300%. When you put it in percent, it sounds bigger than 3x. 300%.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And we'll probably be at least 500% by the time we see each other.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're being bearish. I love you, freaks. Thank you for joining us. A big shout out to all the ride or dies in the live chat. You're my people. I love you, Marty. Enjoy Austin. Give my love to everyone out there.
I will. You will be missed tonight and tomorrow. I'll make sure to send your regards to everybody. And yeah, thank you for joining us, freaks. If you're liking it, please smash that subscribe button, like, share, tell your friends about it. Don't tell them about it. You like the shout outs. We love the shout outs. tftc.io/contribute. Keep crushing. Best way to fix a problem is to identify a problem.
Stack sats.
I think we're identifying problems. I think we're providing solutions too. Bitcoin's a great solution. Enjoy the rest of your weeks. We'll see you. Like, how do you say that when you're like talking to many people? Do you say enjoy the rest of your week, or is everybody having an individual week? And so you say weeks.
Y'all, we're going to the moon. Stack as many fucking sats as possible.
Peace and love, freaks.